Manchester United closing in their first major sale in Mason Greenwood. Could Doue be set to replace Mason Greenwood as they face an Olise blow and an even bigger Todibo blow? Even more news is coming in on Branthwaite and a few other targets. And actually, reports are coming out completely unrelated to transfers about Todibo being frustrated with certain Man United players and their injuries, thinking that maybe some of it is mental. Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news roundup, where we round up all the news that you guys need to know in less than hit that like button, and of course subscribe down below if you're new. Let's start with one of 4 different stories coming in on Greenwood today. Sammy Motbell of the Daily Mail, that is a good and credible source of information, was very accurate. The Mason Mount news last summer has said that Lazio have opened talks with Manchester United over a 30 million deal for Mason Greenwood. I do apologise if there was a little bit of lag there, guys. It was also said Mason Greenwood is the subject of interest from Lazio among a number of clubs as speculation continues over his future. All options remain open for Greenwood, with Manchester United's preference a permanent sale, although another loan or even a return to the training club is not being ruled out, which is interestingly said there by The Athletic. They said that Lazio are one of several clubs interested, with Juventus, Napoli and others in Germany, Spain and Portugal monitoring the situation. Getafe are also interested in Greenwood returning to them on another season-long loan, as they cannot afford the permanent fee. Interestingly, we know that Napoli may be losing Kvaratskhelia because he's basically said he wants to leave. Juventus and, of course, Lazio are very interested in Greenwood, and, of course, Valencia and Spain are interested in Greenwood. Juventus haven't put in an offer, but they're willing to put in an offer if Sule or Criseo goes. Obviously, Lazio sort of putting in a 30 million offer potentially, and Valencia willing to pay about £30 million. So I do think Greenwood sale was something that could move in the coming days, if not the next week. It was said by The Athletic that Lazio, Juventus and Napoli are among interested in signing Greenwood, and obviously other clubs in Spain and Portugal interested in him. And I think Mason Greenwood will probably be the first major sale, as, you know, there's concrete interest in Greenwood. There is some interest in Casemiro. Romano's confirmed interest in Casemiro, but I think Greenwood leaving United is the first major deal. Seems the most likely case. It was also said by Rob Dawson of ESPN that Lazio and Manchester United have started talks over a deal for Greenwood. United are hoping to agree a fee of around 30 million, although there's an acceptance that it would likely have to be subsidised with a number of performance-based add-ons. Lazio face competition from Juventus for Greenwood. I think realistically we should be able to get a 30 million base fee for Greenwood and add-ons, but because of the external circumstances that surround Greenwood, I think it will be a little bit more difficult to get the money that we want. Also, Getafe get a 20% sell-on clause, so I do think it's important that we can sell them for 30 million base fee plus add-ons. I think the fact that you've got Juventus, Lazio, Valencia, a number of clubs looking at Greenwood, that little bit of competition may help Man United get a decent fee for Greenwood. I think once Greenwood is sold, we'll pursue other options. Whether those options will be Olise, whether that option will be Doue, well, we're going to discuss that. But I do think a sale for Mason Greenwood will move quickly, and I think also you've got to remember that's pure FFP profit. You sell Sancho for 35 million, it's still a 30 million loss. You sell Greenwood for 30 million, it's a pure FFP 30 million gain, which is something United really need in the current market. Let's talk about the double blow coming in. Santi, a semi-credible source, has said Manchester United are not ready to trigger Michael Olise's €70 million release clause. United are exploring different possibilities to make a deal happen. Chelsea are ready to trigger Olise's release clause. They're the current frontrunners and they're pushing hard. Key days ahead. So, you know, Chelsea are winning the race for Olise, and right now, if I was to put my money on where Olise ends up, I think it is Chelsea. I think Olise deep down prefers United, but he is a Chelsea priority. He's not a Man United priority, and 2 players are sold. For me, I think he's such a good player that I think it's a massive L if we miss out on Olise. I think he's so good, but I understand Casemiro replacement, Varane replacement. You know, we need a backup striker for Højlund. I understand where the priorities are, but I think Olise, he's such a good player. It's such a good deal. I just don't want to see him in the Chelsea shirt because they just stockpile talent, and Chelsea and Man City just really annoy me. I can't lie. But I do think deep down that Olise is edging more towards Chelsea because they're really trying to... Romano said yesterday that Chelsea are really trying to tie Olise down to agreed personal terms, which is a little bit annoying. But what's even more annoying is this from Romano. Todibo to Manchester United is currently off and highly unlikely due to UEFA rules. Talks were advanced with all parties keen for months, but Nice and United playing in the same European competition next season means no green light. Again, this is another really frustrating situation. It's so annoying because you see, you know, Salzburg and RB Leipzig selling players to each other. Manchester City brought a player off Girona, but it was actually a player that Man City owned Troyes in Girona, but it was a player at Troyes that they loaned to Girona that they then brought off Troyes, and because they're not in the Champions League with Man City, they can do that. But because Nice and Man United are both in the Europa League, because Nice fell off at the end of the season, we can't buy Todibo, which means Todibo now might be going to Aston Villa. And it's this whole annoying situation because Todibo's 34 million. No matter who goes from, he's 34 million. He's at a fair market price. We're going to buy him for a fair market price. We can't. Man City can buy players from their groups and send them all out on loan. So can, the RB clubs. The only way we can get Todibo is if we sell him to Lausanne, the Swiss club, and then Lausanne loan him to United. Like that's what Man City have done to find a loophole in these rules, and it's annoying that we're probably unable to get Todibo unless we can find some kind of loophole, unless we can struck some kind of deal. But it's BS that Man City can do it with the City group because but they aren't in the same competition, they're not in Europa League, even though the club that was on loan and do all these loans and work their way up. But we wanted Todibo before Ineos bought United. Before when we thought it was going to be Qatar, we were still linked to Todibo to replace Maguire. So it's really annoying because we've been willing to pay a fair price for Todibo for a long time. Now let's talk about the latest on Branthwaite and Doue. 2 deals that might be done because we just talked about 2 blows. It was said by Disco Mirror on Jared Branthwaite. Manchester United are confident they can wrap up a deal quickly for Branthwaite, but only if Everton get realistic about the asking price. If Arsenal go and get Amadou Onana sealed, we're screwed. If not, I think we can get Branthwaite for a decent fee. I think Everton will cave. The problem is Everton might say, their alternative was Todibo. They can't get him now. They're panicking. They're not going to get Euro. He's going to go to Real Madrid. Maybe Everton see it as a way to hold on to money, and I'm getting a bit nervous. I was quite excited about the transfer window this morning, but now I'm a little bit nervous with that Todibo story as well. Now, one player I hope we get is Desiree Doue. I'll be really upset if he ends up at another Premier League club. Man United and Arsenal are both interested in Doue. Both have made initial contact with the players' reps in May. Talks are currently on hold while Doue focuses on his Olympic responsibilities with France. Hopefully, if we don't get Olise, we do get Doue or Xavi Simons. For me, they're the 3 ones I want. I think Nico Williams is brilliant, but his wage demands are too much. I love Pedro Neto, but I think he's way, way too injury prone to the, I like Olise and people say he's injury prone. Pedro Neto's just a whole new level. So hopefully we see Doue in a United shirt. Now, another reason I'm doubting about Olise is because Amad's now set to stay and be a key part, and he's a right winger. Garnacho can play on the right. Had we got an Olise, I don't know. Whereas Doue's more of a left winger, Xavi Simons is more of a left winger. Maybe we'll go for more of a left winger and have Amad and Garnacho on the right. Now, Dean Jones Soccer is saying Amad is seeking assurances over the amount of game time he can expect if he remains at United as he prepares to hold discussions with Ten Hag over his future. He's now seen as a key player, but Amad does want to know, how much game time we're going to have, which is fair enough. It came out, and this is not related to United, but by David Ornstein, that Villa have reached an agreement with Chelsea to sign left-back Ian Maatsen. It's a £35 million fee. Chelsea have got money and they may push for Olise. But interestingly, Dortmund were focusing on Maatsen, which is why they couldn't buy Sancho. They couldn't afford Sancho. He's not a priority. Could now Dortmund have a bit more funds left because they failed to get Maatsen to maybe go and buy Sancho? I'm not sure. I think Dortmund are very stingy in the transfer market. They know we're desperate to sell Sancho, and if he's not gone by August, we'll probably do loan to buys. So I'm not really sure, but if Juventus push for Sancho and start making moves for Sancho, I think Dortmund will come in. But if no one makes a move to buy Sancho permanently, I think he goes to Dortmund again on loan with an option to buy as well. But I do think maybe Dortmund can't get Maatsen, they may go for Sancho. Which brings us into a final story, which is kind of unrelated to transfer news, but this was said by Disco Mirror. Eric Ten Hag reckons some of his Man United players were so badly affected by the negativity surrounding the club last season it caused them to be injured. Ten Hag is of the belief that several of his squad were not mentally tough enough to cope with the criticism that came his way, and with some unable to play through the pain barrier, Ten Hag knows to feel this way about Martial. Now, I would take this story with a pinch of salt. It's just a random story. But I do think certain players played through injuries and certain didn't. I think, to be fair to the players, I think, when we're in a good place, a lot of players will play through injuries and mentally play through the playing barrier. I think a few players maybe were a little bit softer with their injuries, but we saw what happened to Luke Shaw. He tried to play through his injury, it got worse. You saw what happened to Maguire. He tried to play through injury, missed the Euros. I think some of it is to do with the Euros, seeing other players like Casemiro, Luke Shaw, Martinez all play through injury and it got worse. And I think the players just thought, we're not going to play through injury. Probably take it with a pinch of salt. Martial, yeah, he's one that obviously he didn't want to play through injury, and that's fair because he's a free agent. He wants to find a next club. Could have used him as backup to Højlund, but it's not the end of the world. But yeah, that's some of the stories and news coming in, by the way, guys. Please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I do apologise for that small lag spike at the beginning of the video. I hope it doesn't come out too bad. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow morning with a live stream. See you next time. Bye.